On this segment of Get Up on ESPN, the new show with Jalen Rose and Mark Greeny and Michelle Beadle, they had an interesting topic, something that I alluded on in my previous video, of teams to blow up in the East. And the two teams they chose were the Washington Wizards and the Toronto Raptors, which I believe both teams had the group that they had together long enough. I believe the Washington Wizards with Bradley Beal and John Wall, they've been together for at least 4 years. And DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry been together at least about 4 or 5 years themselves. Both teams are similar. John Wall is maybe a little bit better than Lowry, but DeRozan is better to me than Bradley Beal. But they both have the same problem. Neither of these guys are number ones, or true number ones that's going to really lead you anywhere. They're all probably number twos, with Bradley Beal, to me, probably been a fringe number three. So, NBA franchises, they have a window of opportunity of, cashing in on the roster that you have that you think can, win a championship or compete for a championship. And I think both of these teams, the window has closed. And let's see what they're going to say about it.
All right, it's time to blow up some NBA teams. Despite 59 wins and a 1 seed in the East, the Raptors season is now over and
definitely the Raptors, because the Raptors have been in the Eastern Conference Finals the last couple of years, just came, and they have not been able to get over the hump, and they were swept the last couple of years. So definitely the Raptors need to be blown up.
They've lost 10 straight playoff games to the Cavs as their season has ended at the hands of Cleveland for the 3rd straight year. Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan are under the team's control.
But the problem is both guys are under immense contracts. Kyle Lowry, $100 million? I think he just signed that this year. And DeMar DeRozan, $130-something million. So, and then they got Ibaka on making $23 million a year. So they got some big contracts with the key main people who they will have to move. So I don't think they will be able to move them. So I don't know where they go from here.
Through 2020. So let me ask both of you, whoever wants to go first here, they can't get past the Cavaliers. The Sixers are clearly a team on the come. The Celtics are a team on the come.
And that's another thing. The Sixers and Celtics are coming. The Sixers and Celtics are what the Raptors in Washington was about 3 years ago. Teams on the rise, teams that can possibly maybe knock out LeBron James in the playoffs and try to advance to the finals. But like everybody said, they had their chance. Both teams had their chance. Raptors got closer than Washington because I believe Raptors were a little bit better than Washington. But the Raptors, to me, they have got there and just didn't perform well.
Do the Raptors need to just start over again?
So this conversation is going to be had a lot about the Toronto Raptors, but that's easier said than done. 9 of their top 10 players are under contract for next year. The only player that does not apply is Fred VanVleet. So, in other words, if you're going to quote-unquote blow it up, that means you actually have to trade salaries of players that were underachievers.
And that's the problem. You have to trade, like he just said, like Jalen Rose just said, you have to trade salary for salary. And usually when you trade high salary for high salary, like he alluded to, there are players that have underachieved. So what are you going to do with that? There's nothing you can do with that because the players you have are underachievers. So maybe the Raptors will have to stick it out, man, and hopefully get a free agent or two, try to go out there and get a true number one. But they can't do anything with this roster, man.
That's really tough to do in today's landscape. In particular, Kyle Lowry. He could have made $30 million, Greeny. I don't think another team is going to pay him to play basketball and be their starting point guard and think that they're going to be a contender. Serge Ibaka, he makes $23 million. I don't think he's a starter on a contending team anymore.
Serge Ibaka has been a big disappointment since leaving OKC. But the last couple years, even with OKC, he was going down. Serge Ibaka, I don't know what happened to Serge Ibaka. He was a perennial defensive player, possibly defensive player of the year, but he never even, I don't know what happened to him. I can't figure out what happened to Ibaka. Ibaka was a surging young player that I thought had a chance to go to a couple All-Star games and be maybe a defensive player of the year because he was blocking shots at a high clip even with OKC. even in this series, he blocked shots in a high clip, but he just, I don't know if it's mental or physically he's hurt or whatever, but he has not been the same. Even before he got traded from OKC, he wasn't the same.
I think he can play backup 5 in small ball, but I just don't think he's a starter anymore. DeMar DeRozan is their best player. So if you're going to move your best player, then you got to try to get that level of value in return. So I'll just throw names out there. You could probably say, hey, what about if you bring Andrew Wiggins home and you ship DeMar DeRozan to Minnesota? Does that really change the dynamic?
That doesn't change the dynamic, Jalen Rose, because neither one of those guys are number ones. And DeMar DeRozan is better than Wiggins. To me, Wiggins does not have an alpha mentality. He has alpha physical gifts, but his mentality, his mental state is not alpha. So that's a moot point. You going backwards.
Dynamics of what's going to happen to them in the playoffs?
So let's just throw money out of it, right? Because this is what I always find fascinating. After having now watched this team basically for 3 years in a row just get booted, and this last one having ended last night seemingly with zero pride. I mean, they just went out there and were like, let's just get this over with. We know we're done. If you're the GM of another team, and we know what these guys are capable of, but we also now have seen what they do when it actually matters most. Do you even want them? Money thrown aside, do you even want them?
I want DeMar DeRozan, I'll tell you that.
That's what I said. DeMar DeRozan is a player you covet in this situation.
That's it, though.
But DeMar DeRozan is a player you covet, but you don't covet him to be a number one. If you need a number 2, you need a number 3, yes, he's very coveted, but he's not a coveted player as being a number 1, because he even have shown that he cannot lead his team over the hump as being a number 1. So yes, he's a good player. He does some things well. He's one of the rare last guys that shoot from mid range. He can go over the top of you. Now he extended to the 3-point line. He played some decent defense. I never heard DeMar DeRozan never playing terrible defense, but he cannot be a number 1.
That's the only player based on his salary beads, to me, has equal value.
I'm not done blowing up teams. Let's go to Washington.
Oh, yeah,
okay. The Wizards lost to the Raptors in 6 games in the first round of this year's playoffs. They have the former number 1 overall pick in John Wall.
To the Washington, defense, they were really a number 6. They lost, John Wall for what? 30 games or close to 30 games, and because he had to have his knee worked on, so they wasn't really a true number 6. But even then, they still weren't going to get anywhere. They weren't going to beat LeBron James. They kind of built like Toronto. Both of their quote unquote all-stars are not number 1 players. They are number 2s, solid number 2s, and I said Bradley Beal is maybe a number 3. So they had the same predicament that Toronto was in. That both of their 2 stars got high salaries, and they gave a high salary to Otto Porter. Otto Porter is the money that he's making. He's not that type of player. He's a number. I'm not gonna give him no number 1, 2, 3 because I only rate 1 through 3. He's not even a number 3 on a championship level team. So they have even worse contracts than the Raptors.
Well, he's been there now 8 years. They've never gotten past the second round. He just signed a huge extension last July. He's under team control through 2023. Their other all-star is Bradley Beal. He's signed through 2021. So it's a similar question. They've done even less, I guess, than in fact, they have done.
That's true. They even done even less because I said they're the Toronto Raptors, but they're a half a step behind Toronto.
Less than the Raptors.
It's just as frustrating, but
You want to break them up?
so I'm such a reactionary. Sometimes I think I might be a 4-year-old because in my mind I'm like.
Like I said, put those 2 teams together and maybe they can do something. Put them together, maybe they can do something. But these teams, both of the window is closed. It's shut, slammed, because the Sixers and Celtics are coming. If the Bulls make the right moves, here they come. So, and the Bucks are still out there with Giannis.
This is not good enough. Let's just break it up and start over. But realistically, much like you have with the Raptors, I don't understand how and what you're going to get in return for the pieces that you have. So let's just say you do blow them up. For what? That's what I don't understand.
Washington's situation is different from Toronto. I'm not blowing up Washington.
None of it.
They just underachieved, which is different. And let me tell you why. If you look at their backcourt.
But see, I disagree with you, Jalen. the team does not like John Wall. I mean, when he was out, Gortat was sending tweets. Bradley Beal was sending tweets. Other players were sending tweets saying that the ball is being moved better when you're not here. And not, no, man, that's a fractured locker room. You cannot. And Bradley Beal believes he's better than John Wall, which he's not. But you cannot move forward with those two guys on the team together. And with the maybe do John Wall got some of those players in his corner? Maybe so. But for the most part, they have turned on John Wall. And John Wall's seen it. It to me, it's hard to repair that, especially with the social media going. Now, that stuff was kept behind closed doors and didn't get out like that. But them guys put it on social media.
In John Wall, you got a 20-point scorer that gets you 10 assists and 2 steals. Not many players in the league are going to do that. Bradley Beal took a leap this year and became an all-star. They have size. They have physicality. You keep them together as long as possible. Up front, Oubre was a really good draft pick in the first round. Otto Porter Jr. can be a productive player. He's just not as productive because he doesn't get a chance to play make with John Wall on the floor, which is something that coaching has to adjust to and John Wall has to adjust to.
So what do you add? What do you need?
And maybe the really super quick question is, if they've underachieved, whose fault is that?
The players. See, here's what ends up happening in sports. You can't trade all of the players, so it's like, who do we move? Right. In this dynamic, it's not the coach. It's the players. Each guy got to look themselves in their eyes, in the mirror, Greeny and Bees, and say, what can I do better?
Yeah, that's true, Jalen. It is the players. But like I said, those guys have turned on John Wall. They feel that the ball moves better when John Wall is not there. The ball doesn't stick in his hands. Everybody have more opportunities to shoot the ball, to play make. So like I said, you're going to have to get rid of John Wall or Bradley Beal, because Bradley Beal is trying to fight John Wall in public perception for being the head dog of the team.
The only change that they'll probably make is Gortat. They should keep Morris. They should keep Oubre,
but why
Porter,
is that not the
and
same
the
for
backcourt.
the Raptors? Why aren't they looking in the mirror and saying, yep, we underachieved again?
Because they don't have the level of value in players on their squad as
they paid them.
So you would rather have Wall and Beal than Rosen and Lowry?
No question about it.
Fair enough.
Okay. If Toronto wasn't the number 1 seed, Kyle Lowry wouldn't be an all-star.
Fair enough. But I'm not done blowing up teams. I got one more for you. Right here, I got to hold on. Let's go out west. The Thunder. They lost in 6 games to the Jazz in the first.
See, I disagree with that. I will take Kyle Lowry over Bradley Beal, because Kyle Lowry came up big more than Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal has a history of coming up short in the playoffs, and Kyle Lowry is a dog. One thing about Kyle Lowry, he is a little bit undersized for point guards in this day of age, but he's still giving you 22 points a game and 6-7 assists. So no, I rather take Kyle Lowry. I like his toughness. I like his grit over Bradley Beal, and I definitely take DeRozan. I ain't gonna say definitely, but I'll take DeRozan over John Wall.
Now, they were very busy last offseason. They traded for Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. They signed Westbrook to the extension. George can opt out of his deal this summer. Carmelo can also, but I don't think he will, because he's not going to pass up almost $28 million next year.
Now, this is a team that needs to be blown up. Toronto, too. Toronto needs a new coach. They need somebody who's going to get in there and coach Russell Westbrook. They can coach him, put him in a system, take the ball out of his hands, get a true point guard in there, move him to shooting guard. That's what he's a volume shooter. Move him to shooting guard, take the ball out of his hands, let somebody else play make. That way they can play make for someone else, some other guys. And yeah, Carmelo Anthony, he is going to opt in, because nobody's going to pay him $28 million, so he will be back. And you got him starting, so that's another story for another day. He should be coming off the bench. He's not